Hello nerds and nerdettes, and welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you guys, and today's video is going to be a new top 10 because we are entering into the month of February 2025, which means we have a whole slew of new releases and titles to be excited about. So in this video I will be going over my top 10 most anticipated books you should be looking out for in the month of February. A quick reminder that if you are planning on pre-ordering any of the books that I'm about to talk about, you can use the channel sponsor, which is Organic Price Books. When ordering from them or pre-ordering, you can use the channel's code staynerdy to save yourself $2 on that order, or when ordering 4 or more books, you can use the code staynerdyshipittogether to save yourself 5% on that entire order. Great way to save yourself some money, but it also contributes to the channel. So thank you to anyone that does decide to use this channel's code when ordering from OPB. But let's go ahead and jump into this list and start with number 10. And coming up first at number 10 is a Marvel event omnibus, a recent Marvel event, and that is the Dark Web Omnibus. Yes, it's getting an omnibus already. Very impressive. Marvel was kicking these things out. We do have a release date of February 4th, 2025, a price tag of $100, and a page count of 792 pages. So it is on the smaller side when it comes to omnibuses, at least. So this is a very recent Marvel event. This is a very divisive Marvel event also. When you look into the community, tons of people are either really receptive of it because they like the idea and how much it pays homage to the history of Marvel and some of the characters, but then you have a lot that are not very happy with this event and that it's getting a omnibus already. Me personally, I am a event snob. I love all events. It doesn't matter if it's bad or good. That's what I live for in comic books. I'm not that guy that gets event fatigue. I love a build up to something and then a massive climax. That's my preferred way of reading when it comes to comic books. So to each their own. But for the Dark Web or Dark Web, this event essentially has to do with some disgruntled clones of the Marvel Universe coming together, working together, and kind of wrecking havoc. And it does involve that of Spider-Man and X-Men primarily, so it is a little bit of a, if not fully, a crossover between those two titles at the time. And those characters, those clones that I'm referencing, do have a lot to do with Spider-Man and X-Men also. So you are going to have a lot of lore building or paying homage to lore in general when it comes to those titles. Now, this is a Zeb Wells title. Zeb Wells' Spider-Man is not well received by any means, so, you know, mileage may vary. You are going to have John Romita Jr. covers and Adam Kubert on illustrations and internal, so you're at least getting some pretty solid art. Not my favorite era of Spider-Man by any means. Hate this god-awful suit, but again, I love events, so here I am. That's why it's at number 10. So let's go ahead and jump into number 9. And at number 9, we have a DC book, which is none other than Far Sector, which is getting the deluxe edition treatment this month. We do have a release date of February 11th, a cover price of $49.99, and a page count of 376 pages. So for a very long time, a lot of people thought of this as just like an Elseworld style story, but it's not. It is in continuity, and we are being introduced to yet another Green Lantern character, which is Jojo Bolin. And she's a very interesting character. She takes on the cop role of that Green Lanterns essentially fill in general when it comes to the DC Universe very seriously, because this is a murder mystery story and she is playing detective, trying to put the pieces together. It takes place in the Far Sector, obviously, hence the name. So you're not going to have a whole lot of issues with people that haven't been keeping up to date with continuity or current titles or anything like that. This is very self-contained, and I think it's very new reader friendly. So you do have Jamal Campbell on internals, which his art is absolutely phenomenal. I'm honestly surprised that this isn't an absolute because of how beautiful his art is, and that's honestly even more of the selling point for me personally. I do enjoy the story. I love this story. I love the crime noir elements that almost get wrapped into a Green Lantern story. But Jamal Campbell is an artist you want to keep an eye on. Absolutely phenomenal artist. He knows what he's doing when it comes to comic books, and he knocks it out of the park when it comes to this title. But this is very new reader friendly. You don't need tons of Green Lantern lore or DC lore in your noggin to understand this story and enjoy this story. So I think this is definitely one tons of people need to keep their eye on and possibly pick up, because this could be your initiation into the Green Lantern world and the Green Lantern title, and it would be a great initiation at that. But that is number 9, so let's go ahead to now number 8. And at number 8, we have another event, but it is a DC event this time, and it's sadly not an omnibus, but we do have Absolute Power, which is going to be coming out, I think, in a hardcover first, then a trade paperback, but it could be being released. Both formats could be getting released simultaneously. They have been doing that lately. Comment down below if you know better than I do, which you probably do. We do have a release date of February 4th, 2025, a cover price of $29.99, and this is a standard size hardcover, so we do have a page count of 200 pages. So this is the most recent DC event that has now led into this new era over at DC, where we are seeing Justice League Unlimited, a new roster that is unlimited, obviously, and it really is a great era to kind of jump into, but it all took place after the events of this event. Absolute Power is absolutely phenomenal. I keep using like the same words to describe things, but you have Amanda Waller putting together a ragtag team of essentially androids to hunt down all of the metahumans, depower them, and all of them become depowered. All of their powers are stolen by Amazo-like androids. This team is led by that of Failsafe, which we met during the Chip Zdarsky Batman run, and he is in his most ultimate form, if you will. And then you do have the Brainiac Queen playing a role, which we saw in the Superman title. So there is some prior reading before you jump into this that you do want to have under your belt. That way you can at least understand some of the events and characters that are being referenced. But at its core, you do have Amanda Waller versus the Justice League. That's essentially what we have here. Amanda Waller finds superheroes and metahumans dangerous, uncontrollable. She wants to take away their power, and now it's up to the depowered Justice League to put a stop to her and hopefully get their powers back, which the end of this does lead to tons of mix-ups when it comes to powers and who gets them and all kinds of things, which then directly leads into Justice League Unlimited. So definitely some required reading to get into this new era of DC, but you have some required reading to even get into Absolute Power. But it is Mark Waid writing, Dan Mora on art, so it is going to be a banger. It was a banger. Highly recommend to keep an eye on those creators if you aren't already, but definitely on my list, and I think it should be on yours as well. And at number 7, we have a recent love of mine, which it's going to have its first appearance on one of these lists, and that is I Hate Fairyland Book 3. No longer a 2-book set, we are now getting a 3rd deluxe edition, because Scotty Young decided to add more to his story and his characters. Love that. So we do have a cover price of $34.99, a release date of February 25th, 2025, and a page count of 336 pages. Now, I've already talked about this on live streams. I've talked about this title in other videos. This title is so much fun. It is such a blast. The first 2 deluxe editions are phenomenal. If you think Scotty Young is just an artist, if you think he's just a variant cover artist, because he is very well known for doing those like chibi Marvel covers and such, read this. This is so much fun. Obviously, don't start with book 3. Start with the trade paperbacks or book 1. But so much fun. It follows the character of Gertrude, who as a young girl was sucked into fairyland, where she was stuck there for, I think it was 28 years. So she is now a 30-year-old woman stuck in a child's body in fairyland, and she obviously does exactly what the title kind of depicts and shows fairyland just how much she hates it, and it is phenomenal, great writing, so much fun, fourth wall breaking, tons of meta commentary, just such a blast, and it is full of action, comedy. It's one of a kind. It's one of the coolest things ever. It's what you would maybe think of doing if you were teleported into one of these worlds where everything's happy-go-lucky and you're not having a happy old time. It is just so good, so much fun, and I love the design of these deluxe editions. They are image deluxe editions, so they are oversized, the size of an omnibus, and these deluxes are just bright. You got a pink one, a green one, and now a yellow one coming out. Just beautiful, beautiful books. Image really knows how to design these things, and it's designed in the way of like a storybook when it comes to the cover and the spine and the trim and everything like that. So definitely check this out. If you don't have the deluxes, get those trade paperbacks. I think they're even getting reprinted, if I'm being honest. I haven't heard great things about the return of Scotty Young to this title, but I like this title, so I'm gonna pick it up. That's just how I function as a collector and reader. Whoops. But yeah, that does wrap up I Hate Fairyland, so let's go ahead and talk about the next most anticipated book. And at number 6, we do have a much wanted deluxe edition, which is The Flash by Grant Morrison and Mark Millar, the deluxe edition. Finally, this gap filler deluxe set we wanted for years. It feels like decades at this point. So we do have a cover price of $49.99, a release date of February 25th, 2025. That's going to be a busy week, or a busy date rather. And then we do have a page count of 416 pages. So essentially what this is Grant Morrison taking over the title of The Flash from Mark Waid because they did a little bit of a swapsies, something that we've seen happen multiple times through the comic book world. We just saw it probably most recently, I want to say, was Tom King and Ed Brubaker on Superman and Batman. But this took place between Grant Morrison, Mark Millar, and Mark Waid, where Mark Waid went over to JLA, which Grant Morrison was writing at the time, and Grant Morrison went over to The Flash, which Mark Waid was writing at the time, and they told their own different stories. Now, this is where you get the Tower of Babel, and why Mark Waid ended up writing that, even though Grant Morrison was doing their run on the title. But we get one of the best JLA stories. Now, what we get from Grant Morrison is the introduction of Black Flash. One of the coolest ideas behind the speedsters of the DC Universe, the incarnation of death when it comes to speedsters, just absolutely awesome, super cosmic-y, expands the lore behind the Speed Force that much more, which Mark Waid was already putting building blocks in for, and Grant Morrison just jumped right on top and said, let me add my 2 cents to this, and it is phenomenal. If you want to see the origins of the Black Flash, what takes place, why it takes place, this is where you're going to want to dive in, and it is phenomenal. I don't think Grant Morrison did as well with The Flash as Mark Waid did with the JLA, but still, phenomenal story, highly recommend it, and this is a deluxe edition that tons of people have wanted, so pick it up if you need it. It's a great gap filler. And kicking off the top 5, we do have The Ultimates by Dennis Camp, Volume 1, Fix the World. We do have a cover price of $24.99, a release date of February 4th, 2025, also may be a busy date, and a page count of 208 pages. This is a trade paperback. Marvel does not tend to do what DC does and do standard size hardcovers or anything like that, so it's just a trade paperback at this point. But please read the new Ultimate Universe over at Marvel. This has given me such a rejuvenation when it comes to comics and Marvel Comics specifically. It is so phenomenal. Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, the Ultimates. My goodness, some incredible comic books coming out when it comes to the Ultimate Marvel Universe, the new Ultimate Marvel Universe. This is said to be the best Ultimate title coming out currently. I am going to say I believe people because everything they said about Spider-Man and Black Panther and Ultimate Invasion has held true. So I'm going into this with very, very high hopes. But this is in the number 5 spot, despite it being something I have not read. because of just how amazing the entire new Ultimate line has been. Please read that if you are not. At least Ultimate Spider-Man, and I would even say Ultimate X-Men, because that was a close second for me just because of the vibe and feel of it. So check out those titles. Read Ultimate Invasion, that's the build-up. Ultimate Black Panther is phenomenal as well, and the Ultimates is the formation of the new Ultimate Universe's version of the Avengers, which has a brand new cast of characters, of some familiar faces and some unexpected faces. So check it out, so good. I hope a omnibus is not around the corner anytime soon. This is only volume 1, so I'm gonna say it's not, but who knows with Marvel these days. But phenomenal stuff here. New Ultimate Universe is must-read comics. And at number 4, we have a Rick Remender Deluxe Edition, which makes this a happy day right here. Love this format. We do have the Strange Girl Deluxe Edition. I believe it's called the Strange Girl 20th Anniversary Deluxe Edition. Correct me if I'm wrong. We do have a cover price of $59.99, a release date of February 19th, 2025, and a page count of 480 pages. Now, this is typically where I give some form of synopsis or my thoughts on the title. Can't do that. I have not read this title, but what I can say is the Rick Remender format, or the library format that his books are always put in, is the best bang for your buck anywhere out there in the market. The only thing to rival it is the Dark Horse library editions, where you are getting absolute sized books with high page counts, 400, 500, 600 plus pages, completes an entire story. Not always, but typically. Like Deadly Class was like 4 volumes, but some titles completely finished in one singular volume. And these things have price tags of $50, $60, and you're getting literally an absolute with no slipcase. This is my favorite format. It's my favorite format for a multitude of reasons, one of which being obviously the bang for your buck. You feel like you're reading something important. It's a beautiful tome in your hand. These books are always designed beautifully, but it's also Rick Remender, one of my favorite writers, easily in my top 5. He's a writer that really pulls on the heartstrings. He really digs deep into humanity and what makes humans human, the flaws of every single human being out there, whether they're heroic or not. A absolutely amazing writer. Tons of people out there say he has Rick Remender tropes. I agree, but every writer ever has tropes that they dive into. That's just how writing works, and Rick Remender's tropes work for me, and I think they would work for most anybody reading, because he knows how to just tell a story and develop characters that you care about and world build like crazy. I mean, some of these books have massive cast of characters and all of them are different, so it's just absolutely phenomenal. You do have Eric Nguyen, which I think is how you pronounce it, and Jerome Opeña and Peter Berkting when it comes to illustrating, so you are going to have different artists throughout this book. But it's Rick Remender, it's a beautiful book. It's a title that I want to pick up because I want all of Rick Remender's titles in my collection. That's how much I enjoy his writing, and this is his next deluxe edition, so no-brainer on my list, and hopefully you guys pick it up and let me know what you guys think, or maybe you read it already and you can let me know what to expect. But that's why it's at number 4, so let's jump into my top 3 most anticipated releases of the month. And first up, at the number 3 spot, we do have The Flash by Mark Waid Omnibus Volume 2, finally coming out. My goodness. We do have a release date of February 4th, 2025, a cover price of $150, and a page count of 1,192 pages of The Flash goodness. Yes, sir. I don't think this is any surprise that it's on my list. I don't think this is a surprise release, especially when we are also seeing The Flash by Grant Morrison getting a deluxe edition, which is a huge gap filler deluxe edition when it comes to this specific run, and it bridging between Mark Waid's run going into, the Jeff Johns and other titles or other runs that follow it. But this is arguably a lot of people's favorite run on the character of The Flash. Usually Jeff Johns and Mark Waid are neck and neck, depending on what you like when it comes to comics, what you like when it comes to the Flash. But this is Wally West goodness. This is Wally West as the Flash, doing what made him most people's favorite Flash, especially if you were born in like the 90s. But this is absolutely phenomenal stuff. Mike Warango on art, doing his amazing cartoony, fluid art style that we saw in the first omnibus. We've seen on the Mark Waid Fantastic Four omnibus. We saw it in the Telos saga. Very cartoony, but it just works. I think it grows on you. If anybody's like me, you're going to jump into it and not love it immediately, but man, does it grow on you, and it just works so beautifully. But this is a lore building run, very similar to that of Jeff Johns. A lot of the little building blocks and lore bits that Mark Waid put in place and kind of created the idea around, Jeff Johns built onto even more so. So if you like that Jeff Johns stuff, read this run too. They are kind of similar in some regard. There's a lot of focus on obviously the Flash, but also the Flash family, the sidekicks, Impulse, Kid Flash, whoever that may be. So you do have a lot of focus on just DC speedsters in general, the Speed Force, and how the Speed Force works. Phenomenal run. Happy to see we're getting a volume 2. So pumped that this is going to be the year of DC, and we're going to get a omnibus, or releases just in general, that tons of us have been clamoring for. And at the number 2 spot, we do have Batman Nightfall Omnibus Volume 2, finally getting a reprint after we got a reprint of Volume 1, last year, I believe. We do have a cover price of $125, a release date of February 18th, 2025, and a page count of 976 pages. Now, if you have the old printings of the Nightfall Omnibuses, I don't think there's really any differences between the old printings and the new printings. I want to say, someone down below in the community can correct me if I'm wrong. I wouldn't see why they would add anything else, but maybe they did. But the major difference that I noticed almost immediately between the old and new printings is they are a lot more compact. Better binding, obviously, better page quality, better everything. You know, obviously, a lot of time has passed since those old printings were printed, so we're getting new book technology, so you're getting a little bit more of a higher quality product. Now, this is obviously one of the most famous Batman stories that needs no introduction. This is going to be the second half, if we're counting omnibuses, because there will be 3 total. So we already had the first omnibus, this will be the second half of the story where you get to see Bane break Batman's back, and you get to see Azrael become the new Batman, or Azbat, and he's a much more brutish and brutal and violent version of Batman. And then the inevitable return of course, Bruce Wayne. Now, during this portion, you're going to have the story of Azbat being Batman, all of the bridges that he's going to burn, and all of the damage that he's going to do. And then you'll have the buildup of the return of Bruce Wayne leading into the 3rd omnibus. First omnibus obviously built up the arrival of Bane and what happened to Batman, and then eventually the build up to Azrael becoming the new Batman, or Jean-Paul Valley. Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley, whatever. And now this one, you're going to see him in action, and then we'll eventually obviously get the climax to this story. But phenomenal Batman story, gets tons of hate, but I think people just hate it because it's popular. It's still phenomenal, performs beautifully, highly recommend it. Obviously, give it a chance. There's tons of formats out there. You don't need to dive into the omnibuses, but give this story a chance. It's famous for a reason, and I think it's definitely worth reading, not only because of quality, but for historical reasons as well. And at number 1, which is probably no surprise to you all at all, we do have Secret Wars by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus finally coming out. How has this omnibus taken this long to be made? We do have a cover price of $100, a release date of February 4th, 2025, and a page count of 864 pages. Now, there's going to be a lot of thinking of upgrading when it comes to, the Secret Wars OHC, and now this omnibus. Do I think if you have the OHC, you need to go out and get this omnibus immediately? No, not necessarily. A lot of the build-up for this specific event took place in Jonathan Hickman's Avengers run, so if you have that in trades, singles, those 2 omnibuses with the non-connecting spines, then you're fine. You have the tie-ins, you have the build-ups, you have the important story segments that lead into this event, and then if you have the OHC, then you have the actual event. All this is those issues all condensed in one singular package. Now, I don't have the OHC. Even if I did have the OHC, I'd probably just get this omnibus because, like I said, I just love events. But this is a phenomenal, phenomenal event. Absolutely incredible. Changed the Marvel Universe. After this is post-Incursion. This is Battle World. This is all of that build-up. This is Emperor Doom, you know, ripping Thanos' spine out. Maybe that's a spoiler, but you're going to get so many incredible story elements, lore-building elements here. You're going to have the Cabal. You're going to have the Illuminati. You're going to have Molecule Man and seeing just how powerful he is as a character. The bringing in of the Maker and Miles Morales into the 616 universe. This changed Marvel forever, so it is 100% worth reading and collecting in some format. Doesn't need to be the omnibus. What did just barely make the list was the Secret Wars Battle World omnibus. Phenomenal stuff there. Very, very similar to Flashpoint over at DC, where they put all these lore nuggets and characters and Battle World and all of it, the insane ideas that come with Battle World into a temporary idea. So again, just phenomenal world building, but it just barely made the list, and Secret Wars is 100% the most important omnibus out of the 2. Pick it up if you haven't already. If you already got it, kudos, awesome. I love you guys for having that. Hopefully, maybe if I get the OHC, I don't need to pick this up. Who knows? But phenomenal, phenomenal story, and this is our chance to now pick it up again in a oversized format. But that does wrap up my top 10 releases of February 2025. Another month in, and it seems like it's going to be a busy and expensive year already. DC is cooking with the releases, so save up. Don't spend all of that money on Marvel anymore, because DC is really putting out some hardcore reprints and much wanted omnibuses for a very long time, so save up accordingly. This is your reminder. DC is here to play this year, so be ready for it. But if you are watching this, comment down below and let me know what's your top 10, top 3, top 5, top 2, top 1 release of February 2025 is. And if you are also watching this and you are not subscribed to the community, the Illuminerdy, you can hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. That way you get notified anytime I put out content. And if you did enjoy watching, make sure to hit that thumbs up icon on the way out. But thank you for watching once again, and of course, stay nerdy.